Hi there, welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2025 Surveyor 252 rble. We are just going to start off at the back unit. If you notice, a popper pre-mounted for an observation camera, as well as a Lippert collapsible stair system. If you'd like to get set up with either of those, you can just contact the parts department. They'd be more than happy to put together a quote for you. Get your spare tire located right at the back, and then either side of the bumper tube, just pulling on it. It's going to pop right out of place. That's typically going to be where you want to store your sewer hose after your first use. We do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, which is why there's not one in there yet. But typically that is where you're going to be wanting to store it. And then in this corner, as well as all four corners of the unit, you've got stabilizer jacks, hooking up your 3/4 inch drive tool to the 3/4 inch drive nut, running this foot down to the ground. Once the foot does contact the ground, just giving another 1/8 turn to snug it up. It's going to take any bouncer weight you see we have in the unit right now away. Additional note to that, these are stabilizing jacks, they're not leveling jacks. Please don't try and use them as so, otherwise you do run the risk of bending them. Same goes if you're running them up and down with an impact, just keep in mind how much torque you put on them, as they can bend pretty easily. Then you got your main sewer outlet. Take and twisting that cap off, it's going to be the same as your sewer hose has. Then you got your black valve and your gray valve. You're always going to want to empty your black one first. It's going to be your dirtiest water filled from your toilets, and then you go behind that with your gray one, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. You got your standard 30 amp twist lock connection. You just take a note of that notch there. It lines up with this notch on this side. Once you line that up, you can 1/8 turn to lock it in. Then you got the threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 30 amp plug end. Now a lot of campsites should have this so you plug right on in, but let's say campsite only has 15 amp service, or you have the unit at home and you want to plug it in on your driveway, which is a 15 amp standard outlet. We do include that adapter, just keep it in mind whenever you are using it. You're going to want to make sure that you're not running your air conditioner. It really is just to run your fridge and your lights, and whenever you are plugged in, you get that green light at the top telling you have a successful power source. There's a little legislative on this plug here just telling you what the other lights could mean. Get your black tank flush. So if you're noticing false monitor panel readings or just an odor around the unit, thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to help flush that, keep that black tank clean. Just making sure you do read the caution sticker. The sewer hose does have to be connected, and the black valve does have to be open. Reason being, if you're pushing pressure inside of that tank and that pressure's got nowhere to go, you could run the risk of expanding that tank and bursting. Coming up to the front of the unit, you have your fresh water drain right down here below the floor. Cracking that guy open, that's going to be how you drain all the fresh water out of the unit. Up top, you get your fresh water fill, so you could either put a garden hose in there, turn it on, or you can siphon water inside of there in case you're boondocking. Right down below, you get your city water connection, so if you're at a site with service, just thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. Pressurizes all those lines without the need to run your water pump. Fresh water drain, already told you about that. Then you got your hot water service port. The only thing you really need to worry about is just that power button in the top left corner. And then just a couple winterizing notes. If you've winterized your camper before on your old camper, probably had a tanked water heater, in which case it had bypass valves behind it, which you had to turn because you didn't want antifreeze going into the system. This system is the complete opposite. You do want to just run antifreeze through it. Once you're done your winterization process completely, just cracking this pressure relief valve and leaving it cracked open for the duration of winter. That way, once that antifreeze does start expanding and gelling up, it's not going to expand and crack inside those coils. Locking that guy up. Up one side of your storage compartment, you got that 15 amp park adapter, which I told you about. And then behind this panel here, there's 4 screws in either corner holding it into place. That's going to be where you get access to your water pump for winterization. Around the front of the unit, you got your battery disconnect switch with it in the on position like it is now. The batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn that to the off position, you would disconnect this battery from the unit. You got your 2 standard propane tanks right at the front. Typically, you can get what you need done just by loosening off those tabs, flipping open this cover. You get access to both the top of the tanks, but in this video, we'll just slide it right out of the way. 2 standard propane tanks. Get your selector valve right at the front with this valve pointed this way. You're going to be drawing off this tank. If you were to flip that to the other side, you'd obviously start drawing off that tank. Counterclockwise, nice and slowly, just to open up the flow of propane. On-off switch right at the front for that front light. And then of course you go up and down with that stabilizer jack. Right at the front, you get your other side of your storage compartment. Weight distribution, which this customer did opt to go with. You got your standard starter kit right inside there. You get that 10-foot sewer hose, 15-foot water hose. You also get another 15-amp park adapter and some other miscellaneous goodies. You also have your griddle hookup all inside here as well, inside the boxes, and then you do just have your water quick connect, which I could run you over quickly. Go to the back of the trailer here. Pull down on the tab, it's going to flip towards you. You got a notch on either side of the hose. You line it up with the notches on the corresponding spot. Then you have hot and cold sprayable water. This is just your standard garden hose thread, so you can attach any garden hose attachment on there that you'd like. It's nice that they do include the hot water as well. Now coming a little bit further down the unit here, you're gonna notice this hole here. If you look inside, there's a little shaft coming out of your frame. That is a manual override for your slide out in case your slide out were to fail for whatever reason. Just keep in mind there's gonna be a lot of tension on there. There's a lot of weight on that slide out. Get your range hood flap, so whenever you get to your campsite, you're gonna wanna make sure you peel that up. That way you can evacuate those propane fumes as you're making them, but whenever you are camping, trying to remember to lock it back in place. That way you're not allowing excess dust inside the unit. A couple plug-ins, as well as a coax outlet. Then right down below the floor, you do get your two low point drains, so if you don't want water going stale or stagnant, cracking these guys open is what helps drain most of the fluid outside of those lines. Then this last compartment here, flipping this guy all the way open, you get that 110 mini fridge. So this will only work whenever you're plugged into shore power. And then this is where you would put in your griddle, sliding that guy over. You could slide this end over. Your little tray would go inside here, and your griddle would go on top of this guy. You just have to unscrew the one foot and then screw it back in, secure it down on the table, and you can run your line down to your propane quick connect line down below to hook it up. To get inside, you're just taking that assist handle, pushing it up, folding it 90 degrees, still lock into place. It's going to allow you to open up your door. The door does have to open all the way to get your stairs down. Get your stairs down, you're just pulling on that tab, pulling the stairs towards you. They're going to start making their way down. And you do have adjustable campsite feet using the levers on either side to adjust the feet inside their tracks. Nice level stairs. Now, coming inside, taking a step inside, first thing you notice off on the left is that fire extinguisher, which is pretty much just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. Up on the wall here, got your monitor panel. Not your monitor panel system, sorry, your main light system kind of. Turning on the main light switch with that one button, you get some mood lighting behind the slide out with the other button. Then you got a porch light and an awning LED light outside as well. Then you got your slide out switch. Now before you ever run your slide out in or out, always a good idea to give it a visual check. Make sure that there's nothing that's shifted during travel that's going to run between the slide out and the wall that's going to get caught in there, causing any damage. And then of course it's on the other side of the slide, making sure you can go out all the way without running into something, which unfortunately today we can't. We can get it, I'd say 98% there, but that last 2% we won't be able to go. So typically you're gonna hear the motors click, and that's when you know you're at your full extension. But as I know it's not gonna be able to make its way out all the way without contacting something, we won't be able to get to that point today, just due to space. So that is all we're gonna be able to go out today. And then you got your awning control, push and hold the extend button, the awning is going to start rolling its way out. Once you see the back of the metal tube and the little flap hang down, that's when you know you're at your full extension. Sometimes that flap can get stuck, so you just might have to retract a couple feet and then put it back out again to get it to come back out. Now that's all we're going to be able to go with the awning today, just again to the space. Now, if it were to start raining, take any arm, front or rear, pull down at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now, if you like that angle better, because it's going to allow for more shade underneath, you do the same thing with the arm at the front. Just making sure you do push them both back to straight before you bring them in. Now, of course, if it were to start getting windy, you're going to want to make sure you bring that awning in. So whenever you do run that awning out, always keep an eye on the wind speeds. And then, of course, if you did have to bring that awning in while it was wet, it isn't the end of the world, but just trying to remember at your next earliest convenience to roll it back out to allow it time to dry off so you don't accelerate the growth of mold or mildew. To retract it, it's just as simple as pushing and holding the retract button. The awning's going to start rolling its way in. Once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motor's going to automatically cut out. Now, we're going to take a step into the bedroom first. The light switch is just on the wall here, but right above that light switch, we do get your thermostat for the unit. Now, you got a furnace, which is going to run off propane. It's going to move all its air through the floor portals we have throughout the unit. and that only has one fan speed, and you have to make sure that the main fan speed is on auto for that to operate properly. So, and then of course you have an air conditioner, which is going to move its air throughout the ceiling ducting you have throughout the unit, and that runs off electricity, 30 amp power. Push and hold the power button to turn it on. It's going to bring you your last known settings, so in this case it's fan. Now you can run that fan on either high or low, in which case it's just moving air around with the air conditioner, no heating or cooling involved. Push that button one more time, you get to dry. That's just a dehumidifying mode to try and take as much moisture out of the air as possible. Then one more time, you get cool. You can change your set temperature using the up or down button. But if you have the fan speed in either high or low, the air conditioner is going to run full time regardless of what you have the room set to. Unless, of course, you have it on auto, which is the setting I recommend leaving it in which case it turns the air conditioner into an on-demand system. So if you have the room set to 69, and it's actually 71 in here, once the room does reach 77, sorry. Once the room reaches 69, it'll automatically kill the air conditioner. Push that button one more time. Now this is where the auto function is very important, because if you don't have it on auto, the fan's going to remain running on the air conditioner, and it'll run the furnace, in which case you're kind of just defeating the purpose. So again, making sure you have it on auto. Once you set that heat setting to its proper setting, it would kick in the furnace if it thought it needed to. One more time, we'll psych you back over to fan. Power button again, just to hold and turn it off in case you didn't need it. Inside the bedroom case, you're going to notice this door, it's got a travel strap. Always making sure before you start moving, you make sure you have this latched in. Failure to do so, this door is allowed to slide around freely, and if you're traveling, it's probably going to damage itself, so you're going to want to try to avoid that. So always making sure you have that locked into place. It's not going anywhere. Other than that, it's pretty standard inside the bedroom. All the blinds in the unit are going to work the same way. They just kind of sit when you leave them. One quick pull to allow them to retract back up. Get your fire exit inside the bedroom. Just pulling on this red tab, screen's going to pop right out of place. At that point, you can take your handle, push it out, pop on out of the unit. Of course, trying to go feet first, but if there is a fire, just try and get out of the unit as quickly as possible. Up on the wall here, you got a TV background in case you wanted to mount a TV. This is going to be the best place to do so. You got a couple plug-ins here, as well as cable satellite outlet. You got some accent lights inside the bed area, just on their own center push buttons in case one of you is reading at night. Then of course you get plug-ins on either side, as well as some cup holders tucked in behind there. That main shade right behind you, wherever you leave it, that is where it's going to sit. And then of course, if you pick up at the foot of the bed, it's going to give you some storage space with a couple drawers. Now just taking a step on into the main living space. Get your two recliner chairs, reclining options on either side of them. Because this unit's equipped with propane, you got your LP detector right over there near the ground. If that guy ever starts going off, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit. Open up some windows and vents to get some fresh oxygen inside of here. Just nothing to panic about. In your dinette space, let's say you had a couple extra guests staying with you weren't expecting, you could pull out the feet from underneath your table, set your tabletop on its desired ledges. Then you can take your back cushions, fill in the center, and you'd have yourself another bed. The light inside here, again, is just on its own center push buttons. Whenever you use storage inside this unit, because there is tons of it, you're going to want to always be sure you're mindful of drains, water lines, and wiring. You're not going to be wanting to affect any of that with your things. Entertainment center, again, pretty self-explanatory. You got your fireplace, power buttons going to be on the far right. The button to the left, that's going to change between your different flame colors. Then you got your different rock light colors right in there in the middle. And then you got your different heat options. You push it once, it goes into low heat. Push it again, it goes into a high heat. And then you got your timer that goes anywhere from 30 minutes to 9 hours. Stereo, again, pretty much just like home, except you have zone 1, which is your interior speakers. Zone 2, which is your exterior speakers. You can turn them off or on individually together, whatever you prefer. Kitchen area, pretty standard. Tons of storage all throughout. Kitchen sink, hot and cold water. Right over here, you got your central vac system, power button to turn it on. Slide that tool over, it is where it's going to allow you a spot to insert it. Lifting that up. The dustpan system, just keep in mind whatever you do suck into there goes into that bag, so you're not going to want to be doing anything sharp. Realistically, it is just for gravel, dirt, and dust. You're not going to be wanting to suck any sticks up into there to get to the bag. You're just pulling this tab, pull it towards you. you're going to see that bag start pulling out of place, in which case you can pull it out and insert your new one. Now, if you're wondering where to get new ones, we do sell replacement ones here at the shop. And again, just getting into contact with the parts department, they'd be more than happy to help you out, get you some replacement ones of those. Then you come to your stove. Now, the propane system, go over a couple notes about it quickly. Just keep it in mind, this is glass. You're always going to want to be gentle with it whenever you're flipping it up and down and allowing this time to cool off properly before you do flip it down. But because we're talking about propane, whenever you turn your system off at the front of the unit, or of course if you disconnect one of the bottles, it does allow air into the system. Once air makes its way in, it has to be purged out. Quickest, easiest way to do that is through your stove, because you get to decide how many cycles you try and light it for, and you get to decide how long the gas valve stays open. If you go to try to fire up your water heater or your furnace, those will only try lighting themselves a couple times before they throw a fault code at you, and that can cause some frustration. So again, we do want to try to avoid that. But of course, because this is propane, we're going to be safe while we're purging it. So whenever you are running a gas valve, you're always going to want to make sure you're hitting that igniter every few seconds. Failure to do so is going to allow a buildup of gas, and if you were to hit that sparker, and for some reason there was that buildup of gas there, it could cause a minor combustion. And if your face was close by, it's probably going to cause you to lose some eyebrows and eyelashes. Again, another thing we're going to want to avoid is just being safe whenever you are trying to purge this. So whenever you first get to your campsite, I always recommend firing up the stove, turn it up to high, hit the sparker. Of course, it fired up pretty quickly today just because I had the system running earlier. Sometimes it can take a few minutes, so just be patient with it. But you'll see eventually it does all light. Whenever you're running it, I always recommend having a range hood. That way you're evacuating those fumes. And then to get your stove to light, or oven to light, sorry, it's just as simple, except you're turning it over to the pilot, pushing and holding the knob in. Now, of course, because the gas surface is so small, the oven can take exceptionally long to light. So again, just being patient with it. Lighting that igniter every few seconds. That way you don't get no buildup of gases. And there you go. Once you get that pilot lit and it's able to hold its own, you can turn it up to your desired temperature and it does fire right on up. A little button here turns on your oven light and your illumination knobs, or you can just run the illumination knobs, whichever thing you prefer. Up top, you get your microwave, which is pretty much just like home. Not much I'm going to show you there. To the right in front of the fridge, opening this guy up, you get a crazy big pantry space to store any sort of goods you want to in there. And then you got your fridge. They got travel locks on either side, so you have to push in the little tabs to get the doors to open. Temperature control up top for the freezer. Temperature control down below for the fridge. And this is also going to be how you turn both of those on. Power button for 3 seconds to turn those on or off. And then you got this little snowflake button that you press to change the temperature for the fridge. You're going to notice that little off-grid rating there. That's just going to let you know the most energy efficient setting to have it on if you're running it off battery power. Now let's say your significant other told you to turn the fridge on last night before you went to bed. You totally forgot. So you're panicking in the morning. It's time to leave. The last setting there, it's going to be the coldest setting, but it's also going to be the setting which will allow that fridge to get the coldest the fastest. So if you had to get that cold fast, it's good to leave that on that number 5 option. Right down below, you get your fuse and breaker panel. Whenever a breaker trips, it'll sit in the middle, so you just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. All your corresponding fuses will be on the right. Now, last but not least, taking a step on into the bathroom, the light switch is going to be on the right. And again, for the bathroom, you're going to notice it's another sliding door thing here. So again, you want to make sure you're latching that travel strap, because we don't want that flying around, breaking off its hinges. Other than that, it's a pretty standard bathroom. Right above my head, you get this nice Furrion fan here, clockwise to open up the vent hood. Now, if you were to forget this open while traveling, you do run the risk of damaging the vent lid just from winds. Unless, of course, you went with a max air cover. And then, of course, if it was going to get wet inside here, if it's going to start raining, it's going to get wet inside of here. So that's why we do sell those max air covers. It's also going to protect your vent lid against hail. It's just a cover that goes over top of this vent. It's going to allow you to run this whether it's raining or not. And of course, you can leave it open while traveling. It's not going to damage anything. If you'd like to get set up with that, just contact your parts department and they're happy to help you out. Flusher, pretty standard bathroom, minus the fact that you have all your controls. Got your mini GFI plug on the wall. 90% of your plugs are all hooked up through GFI. You got reset in the middle, test down below. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd check. Just make sure that that plug isn't tripped. And then once we get to the wall here, you can see you have a heated holding tank system. That's for extended camping seasons. It's essentially pads stuck onto the bottom of your tanks, much like a block heater on a car, to try and keep things warm. Now, unfortunately, our Manitoba winters get much too cold for this to be adequate, so just keep it in mind if you're camping below -0, you do run the risk of things freezing. That's just the way it is. You got your water heater and water pump switch. Turning on the water pump draws out your fresh tank. Water heater switch, turning that on, turns on power to this guy over here. Of course, if you've already had the power on outside on the other side, power button to turn this on and off. You can do it through that or through this. I always recommend using this just because it's the easiest option. Up or down to change your set temperature. Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button, pretty self-explanatory. Then you got your monitor panel system. Pushing the button will tell you the corresponding level. That is going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.